I believe, for the Indian man, for the Indian woman, for Indian society, and as I will try to explain to you, the economy in general. I always like this quote about what men can do if they put their mind to cooking. This was Nathan Myhrvold, former, I think, Chief Technology Officer of Bill Gates, who was the man who did a lot of work at Microsoft and then dropped out to become the author of a cookbook called Modernist Cuisine. This was a book that nobody really wanted to publish because it ran into 2,400 pages, and Myhrvold was very particular about the kind of people he wanted, about the kind of paper and printing that he wanted. So finally, I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he self-published it. And finally, it became the most profitable cookbook ever. Earned him somewhere close to $5 million. So that's just a little interesting aside. Let me just begin by giving you a bit of an idea about how cooking is regarded in different parts of the world. In the West, there's been a clear change since, certainly since the 1950s, 60s. This is a longitudinal study, a 30-year longitudinal study, which is still going on. In the West, you know, they love to gather data. We are pretty bad at it in India. They crunch their data very well, and this is what they found. Let me just read to you a book that is a particular favorite of mine. The Americans in the audience might know of it. A 1943 book called How to Be a Good Wife. There are some great excerpts there, and they provide a window to American society at that point of time, which is not really very long ago. How to Be a Good Wife said this: don't bother your husband with petty troubles and complaints when he comes home. Be a good listener. Let him tell you his troubles. Yours will soon seem trivial in comparison. Essentially, the book said, be the hot steak, not the cheap pork. And it went on providing all kinds of information for young women and how they should keep their husbands happy. It appears unthinkable in modern day America, but and it certainly reflects the Indian male mindset to a large extent, I believe. But this is something worth pondering. Japanese society, even though it's modern, has been pretty traditional and is still traditional. But again, I don't know the data behind this, I don't know the sample size, etc. But I thought in general this was quite revealing, that nearly half the Japanese male population believe that cooking is not women's work. There are quite a few studies now that prove that in the West, this is the US again, that women have, of course, become, women's emancipation has progressed quite a bit. And of course, if you wander around Southeast Asia, you will find men who do not want emancipated women scooping up wives from around there, in that area. But here are the many reasons that young men said they cook. And the time spent, look at that statistic, is up from 5 minutes to 27 minutes from 1961, the time that men spend at home. And of course, there are a lot of conceivable reasons for that, be that as it may. Let me take you even further back to talk a bit about the role that cooking played in the evolution of man. Essentially, cooking began about 2 million years ago with an ancestor of man called Homo erectus. And cooking was not about better tasting food, as we might imagine, but cooking provided man with a lot of evolutionary advantages. Essentially, the time spent chewing dropped dramatically, and that allowed man then to spend more time thinking, hunting, and doing a lot of things.